So now in the same manner we have kidneys. Kidneys are responsible for EPO. EPO stands for the erythropoietin. That means the hormone required for increasing the amount of RBC formation or erythropoiesis. Now this RBC amount always increase when there is hypoxia in the body. Hypoxia stands for decrease in the oxygen carried. So once the oxygen supply to the various tissues and body cells goes down, then there will be a signal which is understood by kidney, and kidney starts producing erythropoietin so that the RBC amount could be increased in number so that hypoxia can be counteracted. Now it activates the bone marrow. This hormone called erythropoietin activates the bone marrow cells to produce more number of RBC. We have already done in the kidneys chapter that it releases renin. Renin, as I have learned, as I have taught you in the classes before, is both as it's act like a both hormone as well as enzyme. So the renin, as it comes out in the form of prorenin and is stored in the G cells, that means juxtaglomerular cells. So apart from the erythropoietin, the JG cells also release renin, and this happens due to the decreased arterial pressure and the intracellular sodium ion concentration. Renin converts the angiotensin into angiotensinogen, the inactive form, into the active form called angiotensin first. Remember, the angiotensinogen is prepared and synthesized in liver and released into blood. It remains in the form of inactive form of angiotensinogen as long as there is no need of the activity. But once renin comes in contact, that means there is a emergency, and renin converts this angiotensinogen into first form, and then it goes to the lungs where it turns into the second form. And now this angiotensin second has three effects. First effect is it increases the salt and the water retention in the body. It causes the vasoconstriction, so there is increase in the blood pressure and increase in the heartbeat. And third, it stimulates the adrenal cortical region to release the hormone called as aldosterone, which is a type of mineralocorticoid. So finally, once the aldosterone comes out, it increases the sodium ion absorption from the ascending limb of the loop of Henle's of nephrons. And finally, as the sodium concentration starts increasing, it will cause more and more water also to be reabsorbed. Thus, the urine output is going to decrease. Remember, there is another hormone which is a modified form of vitamin D, and that is the calcitriol, which is also written as D3. It is formed by hydroxylation of vitamin D, and it is responsible for regulating the calcium and phosphate balance in body. So this is how kidney releases erythropoietin. It releases renin, and it also is involved with the formation of D3 hormone. Now the next is the liver. As I have already told you, liver releases and synthesizes and releases angiotensinogen, which is a plasma protein. It remains in the plasma and becomes active only when there is contact of renin with it. Now the next is the gastrointestinal mucosa. The mucosa of the gastrointestinal tract is supposed to release gastrin, which we have covered from the NCERT, enterogastrodon, which comes from the intestine and puts a stoppage to the activity of the glands of the stomach. That's why enterogastrodon. Secretin we have covered from the NCERT. Cholecystokinin and pancreozymin, today they are called as same, but in the previous literature they were written as two different enzymes, so different hormones. The enterocrinin, break this word, entero stands for the intestine, crinin stands for secretion. So it causes the release of intestinal juice for intestinal enzymes so that they can finish the process of digestion, because last juice to cause complete digestion is the intestinal juice. So intestinal juice secretion comes because of the signal which goes in the form of enterocrinin hormone. And then we have the duodenum activities enhanced by duocrinin hormone, and then villi become more effective in absorbing the fat and absorbing the digested food because of the activity of the hormone called as villikinin. Now the next component of this topic to finish this chapter is the molecular mechanism of the hormonal action. So how do hormones act? You can go through this topic from the NCERT also. It's an easy topic. Let me quickly read from the notes and finish this. So the molecular mechanism of hormone action depends upon which hormone we are talking about, because there are two types of hormone: lipid soluble and water soluble. So those hormones which are lipid soluble, they can easily pass through the plasma membrane of the target cell, and once they cross the plasma membrane, they combine with a specific receptors which are proteins which are present inside the cell, and once they join with this intracellular receptor protein, they form a complex inside the cytoplasm. This complex now is able to enter into the nucleus and bind to a particular gene which is responsible as a regulatory gene, and this starts the DNA reading into mRNA, and finally a protein or enzyme is formed. Now this concept is a slow in activity, but it has a long lasting effect. For example, we all know the sex hormones are slow in their activity, but they have a long lasting effect. Now when we talk about water soluble hormones, they cannot pass through the membrane of the target cell, so they combine with the 3-part heteromeric glycoprotein. There are 3 portions to it. It joins with one of its part, and now once it joins to this extracellular receptor present on the cell surface, it generates a secondary messenger. Secondary messengers are either cyclic AMP or IP3 or calcium ions. Now these are secondary messengers which will start changes inside, even enter inside the nucleus to start the activity of specific genes, and this concept goes faster, but it has a short-lived type of effect. So today we have covered and finished this chapter. In the next class we will start with the first unit, and we are left with only 4 chapters to conclude the